Motiwala. With me is my colleague Hormaz Pataki as well. Hormaz, we started, at the 25,000 cheer. Everyone was happy. We managed to close slightly below that, but no complaining. At least broader end of the market that was also outperforming. Banks, they were doing well as well.
The bulls would be slightly disappointed, right? Today had almost all the ingredients of a sustained move above 25,000, but then yet again, although it was the sixth day of gains for the benchmark indices, it could not translate into a close above that 25,000 mark, and yet again it was a close below that level for the index, but nonetheless a sixth day of gains for the markets. And tomorrow we go back with another day and another attempt at scaling that 25,000 mark, which will be the weekly expiry for the BSE contracts. And we've got you covered for the next 20 minutes with all the big news and the key developments on the Dalal Street, top corporate voices and events to track for the day ahead. But of course, today's session being that IT was the top performer, but the sentiments though, Vinny, were mostly around the fact that the export related names, the textile names, the shrimp feed exporters, they were the ones that hogged the limelight today.
Absolutely, they were the ones that hogged the limelight. And obviously, I think, the support that comes in also is in terms of the GST announcement for the consumption play. So that also is still something that is supporting this consumption side of the story as well. So that is what will be interesting. But, do not forget IT, couple of days of positive, move that we've seen. And IT is continuing that up move today. Obviously, that Oracle news that came in, that was supporting it. But let's talk about the lineup that we have in store for you all today. We'll start the show with the top movers and shakers of the day, and that will be with Vivek, and also talk about some of these important stocks that are going to be on the radar, right? Export-facing stocks, whether you talk about Bharat Forge, Motherson, Gokuldas Exports, and stocks that were buzzing largely on the back of India-US resuming trade talks with those stocks. Now, let's also, we'll delve into which are the key market events to watch out for in tomorrow's trading session as well.
And to our first segment of the day, Vivek is across the wall and he joins in with the top movers and shakers of the day. Vivek.
Well, thank you so much for that. Like you mentioned, slightly disappointing in the fact that we didn't manage to hold on to the strong gains. But despite that, advanced decline ratio, very strong, more gains than laggards in today's trading session. And like you mentioned, you cannot look past the entire IT pack. The entire IT pack, the large cap names, the mid cap names, as well as some of the small cap IT companies, all of these stocks continued to see very, very strong up move. So all of the names were doing quite well. The shrimp stocks, remember, those are the ones that were amongst the top gainers in the session today. Avanti Feeds, Apex Frozen, Coastal Corp, all of these stocks among the top gainers. The PSU Banking Index ahead of the mega meet that is scheduled on September 12th and 13th. That is something all of these stocks saw buying throughout the trading session. The guidance upgrade from Oracle is something that aided the entire IT pack up move, like I mentioned earlier. So names like Oracle Financial up over 10%, Persistent, Emphasis, Coforge, Tata Elxsi, all of them seeing gains anywhere in the range of 4 to 10%. Vikram Solar came out with its results. A very strong Q1 update, that stock high by almost 5%. And capital goods and defense stocks, especially defense names in the last hour, saw significant buying emerge. Apar Industries, BL, almost 5% higher for BL, MTAR Tech, CG Power, a lot of positive brokerage notes coming in as far as these names too were concerned. And HAL also rounded off this particular buying that was seeing across the defense names as well. On the other hand, a few laggards as well. Auto pack, remember, almost 12 to 13% up move the last month and a half. Today, a bit of profit booking across most of the names. In fact, most of the laggards on the Nifty 50 were the auto names today. Cartrade Tech, now this particular stock was clearly a casualty of selling pressure in today's trading session. A JM financial report indicating that the rise of AI is something that could lead to significant risk, almost 10% lower for this name. The capital marketplace, so names like BSE as well as Angel One, under significant pressure today. Worries in terms of curbing of options trading activity is something that weighed on these particular stocks. And good luck India, we had the management on the channel earlier today, and the management trimmed the revenue growth outlook for FY26. The stock ended lower by over 11% today.
Okay, Vivek, thank you so much for that, for rounding up those whole host of stocks that were in focus today. But let's bring on board our guests for today. We have Ambareesh Baliga, independent market expert, as well as Shrikant Chouhan of Kotak Securities. Ambareesh as well as Shrikant, thank you so much for joining us on the show. Ambareesh, let's talk about PSU Bank, Nifty PSU Bank. That was among the top sectoral gainer today. Now, given the meeting that is coming in on September 12th as well, what are your thoughts for the PSU banking side?
I think one of the major discussion points, I think, would be consolidation, a further consolidation of the PSU banks. I mean, about 4 or 5 years back, we had seen 27 PSU banks being reduced to 12 through consolidation. And now it's expected that finally we'll have possibly 6 or 7 banks. So the ones which will benefit would be the larger PSU banks other than SBI. I would say Bank of Baroda, PNB, Canara Bank, Union Bank. I think these are the ones which should get benefited because of the consolidation.
Let's also get in Shrikant. Shrikant, thank you for joining in. Yet again, 25,000 proving to be elusive for the Nifty. But do you see this as a matter of time now before the bulls manage to conquer that level? Or do you still expect further resistance at that 25,000 mark?
Yeah, good evening, Harmas and everyone. See, the recovery in the second half was quite encouraging, and based on that, we are expecting market to surpass the level of 25,000 confidently. We may even see the levels of 25,200 in the near term. The reason is because Bank Nifty recovered very well in the second half, and it closed almost around its opening levels. So today there was balance between bulls as well as bears, and Bank Nifty managed to close little bit on the higher side. So while looking at the entire setup of the Bank Nifty, I am of the view that Bank Nifty is now going to provide relevant support to the market, and based on that, the market may try to cross the level of 25,200. So ideally, the strategy should be to look for adding long position if there is any correction in the market, but major focus should be more on the bank stocks and Bank Nifty.
Okay, Shrikant, thanks for your view coming in for the Nifty as well as the Bank Nifty. That's the one everyone's keeping an eye out on now. Let's move on and talk about the IT pack, right? We had Oracle Financial Services that soared as much as almost 10% in today's trading session. And, what was the reason for this? Its parent firm, Oracle, they came out with some commentary there. Now, let's go across to Reema, who's here to give us more details on this front.
So the reason for the rise in Oracle Financial Services, OFSS, is twofold. One, it's a sentiment rub-off impact from the parent company, Oracle Corp, which reported the numbers, gave a very strong guidance on AI and cloud, and shares of Oracle Corp went up 28% in after-hours trade. So there was a rub-off impact because this company, Oracle Corp, is the promoter of OFSS with about a 72.5% holding. And the second reason is that OFSS has been an underperformer. The stock is down 30% on a year-to-date basis. It's much lower compared to its all-time high level of 13,220. So when there is that good news, there is that catch-up taking place. But Oracle's numbers, what is it that the street like, the parent company, the global giant? Well, its projections on cloud. For one, they're talking about cloud revenues surging from 10 billion last year to 18 billion this year to 144 billion in 4 to 5 years. That's a solid growth path. And these projections would also include the projections or some guidance or outlook from the Indian subsidiary, OFSS. So while there is no direct run through, we don't know how much India contributes to the overall revenues, there would be that rub-off impact. But generally, if cloud is doing well, it's positive for Indian IT services companies because Indian IT services companies help with cloud implementation. So twofold reason. One, because it's been an underperformer, it's been a bit of a drag. So that's reversing on the back of positive commentary from its parent company.
Okay, so keeping an eye out on Oracle, but the IT pack as well, that was buzzing in trade. But apart from IT, we had all those textile stocks, right, that were buzzing in trade, Urmas, and that is obviously, given that Trump's commentary makes a very big difference in terms of tariff, the twists and turns over there are leading to the twists and turns and ups and downs for the textile sector as well. Today, we saw the textile sector that was buzzing because commentary that came in the morning. Now, apart from that, let's look at the last 1 month. Interesting things that have happened over there, right? 18th August, the government first said that they'll, remove that import duty on cotton from 19th of August. That was around 11% that would be removed to address the demand concerns that were coming in because there was already a 25% tariff that was implemented by the US. To support the Indian industry and textile industry, this was the move that came in. 27th of August, the US administration applied that additional 25% tariff. So now India would be paying total 50% tariff. That time all these textile stocks saw a fall coming in. 3rd of September, GST rate rationalization, the restructuring, two slab rates at 5 and 18%. And for most of the textile and apparel players, they have moved more towards that 5% slab rate. Just a few of them are moving towards the 18% rate. So most of them, even in terms of value chain, the raw material side, that also has moved towards 5%. And that is why textiles, that was a positive that came in there. Now today, obviously, in terms of commentary between India and US, Prime Minister Narendra Modi as well as President Trump, seems like, trade talks are resuming. They're going on that positive note. That is something that kept the stocks abuzz. Now, going forward, we'll watch out for domestic demand for textile players, government support. If anything further comes in, what's going to be happening between the tariff fronts? India-UK FTA, that's a big positive for them because Indian textile players will look to gain more market share in the UK market. EU and India FTA, that's a big one as well. Those talks are on. Positive signs that are coming in there. And analysts are highlighting that could see some maybe, final decision coming in on those trade deals for India and EU by the end of this year. So that will again be a positive. So that is something that we're keeping an eye on, and the main reason today that we are seeing all these stocks positive trade.
The twists and turns continue for a lot of these textile names. Ambareesh, with Donald Trump, it's never over until it's over. So the sentiment impact aside, do you really believe that with these latest overtures that you have seen over the last 2 to 3 days, would that result in something meaningful? And now with these textile stocks already having been beaten down 15-20%, you can try taking that risk with that hope that things would eventually settle down over a period of time?
I think the worst possible scenario is already factored in, and we have seen a very decent correction in most of these textile stocks in the last couple of weeks. And now with the GST rationalization, the trade deals which India is striking, even the export-oriented ones will surely find new markets where they can increase their exports to. And in case there's a U-turn by Trump, which is again expected now after the latest social media comments, I think in case that happens, that will be a big bonus for the textile space. So, what I would say is from here, possibly the downside is quite limited, whereas there can be a decent upside if everything falls in place.
Decent upside if everything falls in place, and everyone's hoping for that, right, Ambareesh? But Shrikant, anything that you would highlight in the textile space that one could look at right now? Gokuldas, Vardhaman, KPR Mills, anything that on the technical front?
Yeah, I think so. In that space, Gokuldas recovered very well from lows. The stock has formed double bottom sort of formation, and after crossing the level of 770, 775, we saw there was good amount of jump in the volume. So while looking at its formation, yes, we can expect some upward activity, but I think we need some more support from buyers, because it's a very initial conversation, or maybe talk, or we can say it's a very initial way of taking any view on the particular sector. It is better to focus more on other stocks. I think PSU banks looks really good. There, I think we can expect further more activity in the near term.
Better to focus on other stocks other than textiles. So let's do that and talk about some other export-oriented names. And with these latest gestures that have taken place, a lot of these export names like Bharat Forge, Samvardhana Motherson, Cyient, all of them were in focus today. Sudarshan is here with why all of these stocks did what they did in today's session. Sudarshan.
So today early in the morning, we saw positive comment coming in from both US President Donald Trump and Indian Prime Minister Modi, and that led to an interest in all the export-facing names which were under pressure so far in 2025. So we'll start with Bharat Forge, which was down 6% in 2025 and has underperformed peers. And now today in the trade, so day before yesterday it was up 6%, yesterday it was down, but again today it was up and it has crossed 100-day moving average. Another stock from the auto pack which was in focus is Samvardhana Motherson. It has been near 52-week high, and also over the weekend company had unveiled five-year plan that also boosted the sentiment. Coming to IT stocks, over the last few days we have been seeing buying in IT names, and today also some of the mid-cap names saw sharp short covering, and some of them are first one LTI Mindtree, which was up nearly 4%, and also today it has crossed 200-day moving average. Another name that was in focus was Cyient, because it has underperformed peers. It was down almost 33% in 2025 2025, but managed to recover some of the losses, and also it has crossed 50-day moving average in the trade today. Lastly, from the pharma pack, two stocks that have been in focus and also underperformed the peers and has a huge contribution from the US. First one is Dr. Reddy's, for which contribution from US is around 53% and is down 6% in 2025. And another name is Aurobindo Pharma, which gets a contribution of around 50% from US, and that has also underperformed the peers and down 20% in 2025. But we'll have to keep seeing that if these names follow buying or short covering, and there is a possibility that it might happen if there is any positive news flow.
Thanks so much for that, Sud. But let's move on to some of these, shrimp stocks or seafood exporters that were also in focus today. And Ria is joining in with us to give us that update and why these stocks were buzzing. Ria.
Well, yes, the European Union has approved 102 new fishery establishments for exports to the EU, and this move is expected to add around 16% more Indian export establishments in terms of trade volume. Now, the Commerce Ministry has also said that they are anticipating an immediate rise of around 20% of trade volumes, and India's marine exports, remember, to the European Union were valued at around $1.1 billion in FY24. These marine products exports have also recently been heavily impacted by the 50% tariff rate that was imposed by the US on India, and the US remains the largest export market for marine products, followed by the European Union. Now, in terms of exposure to the European Union for some of these listed players, Avanti feeds around 17.4% of their shrimp feed revenues in FY25 came from Europe, and the company is already working on expanding its presence in non-US markets, which includes the European Union. For Apex Frozen Foods, around 39% of the total revenue of the company in FY25 came from the European Union, up from around 26% in the previous financial year. And they've also seen robust demand coming in from this geography in FY25, and they continue to strengthen their presence in the market. Some other listed players that also supply to the European Union include Coastal Corporation, Waterbase, as well as IFP Agro, and all of these seafood exporters have posted very strong gains in today's trading session.
Ria, thank you for that update. And just before we get to Ambareesh on these seafood names, let's round off the stocks loop with Cartrade Technologies. That 17% intraday drop that the stock saw was the biggest on record. Saw some recovery over the course of the day, but then towards the close, that recovery was also sold into, eventually ending 10% lower after the downgrade from JM Financial. Sudarshan is still with us, and he'll tell us what led to that downgrade from JM Financial. Sudarshan.
So as you said, Cartrade at one point in the today's trading session was down 17%. It did make a recovery, and at the close it was down 10%. But remember, the stock has outperformed all the peers, and in 2025 it was up 55%. And if you take a look, the outperformance, and from 52-week low the stock had seen October of 2024, from that level stock is up almost 200%. And reason of underperformance in today's trade, because JM Finance has come out with a note, it has downgraded the stock to hold sell from whole, and target price it has increased from earlier target of rupees 1900 to rupees 2350 per share. And the main reason it has given off this downgrade is because of valuations. It's saying that company is currently trading at 43 times FY27 estimated EBITDA multiple. And this is too rich for a company that generates almost entire revenue from B2B segment. Also, demand boost does not necessarily mean that it's a linear rise that company is going to see in the revenue front. And also, JM Finance has recently done a survey which suggests a significant rise in the use of generative AI tools versus Google search. That JM Fin believes that it can be a risk for the company going forward.
Interesting analysis there from JM Financial. Sudarshan, thank you for that. And Ambareesh, we are on that topic of the shrimp exporters, the Avanti Feeds and the Apex Frozen Foods. Has opened up a new avenue, this action from the European Union. Is there a stock that you find value among these names?
No, I mean, see, after a major correction, what we saw because of the tariffs, I think all these stocks can get back to where they were only if there's a clear U-turn by President Trump as far as the tariffs are concerned. EU, surely this news is positive, no doubt, but then I don't think the demand would be enough to take it to levels where we had seen them even about 4 or 5 months back. So I think one has to wait and see as to whether US changes its mind.
And Shrikant, any thoughts in terms of Cartrade as well? Obviously, today we're seeing a bit of a fall coming in on the back of that brokerage note. But overall, what should we keep an eye out on here?
Yeah, while looking at its fall, it is very clear that it is into the bull market correction. And whenever the stock is falling in such a way, we have to see that whether it is breaking the important level or not. And today, luckily, it survived above the level of 2200. So till the stock is not breaking the level of 2200, we can see consolidation sort of activity for next few days. But again, 2750 will be definitely a very big hurdle for the stock to cross. Ideal strategy should be to look for reducing position if there is any pullback towards 2500, 2600 sort of levels. And in case if it breaks the level of 2200, then we can expect further more worries for the stock. Otherwise, I'm expecting further more consolidation.
You wouldn't mind some consolidation, right? From the March 23 lows until yesterday's high, the stock was up 8x is Cartrade Technologies. But Ambareesh, Shrikant, thank you for spending time and joining us to discuss all the stocks that were in the news in today's trading session. Take a short break. On the other side, we return to tell you what are some of the key events to watch out for going into tomorrow's trading session, and of course the top corporate voices that we spoke to over the course of the day. Stay tuned. Still with us here on Markets Forward, on to some top corporate voices. Then Gopal Snacks is first up, with the stock gained after the company inked an agreement for third-party manufacturing facilities, and the management stated that it is upbeat about the increase in volumes on the back of these GST cuts. However, the company added that the 22nd of September is too short a notice to replenish all the stocks in the market, but is optimistic that it will be able to release products with increased grammage and lower prices packed in the market by the end of September. Despite the increase in volumes, the company has not revised its guidance for the full year, maintaining its revenue growth outlook of 18 to 20%.
From FMCG to cement, we spoke to the management of JK Lakshmi Cements, and he said the GST rate rationalization is positive for the industry. They expect the industry to grow at 7%, and they expect the company to outgrow the industry with high single digits growth that is expected there. Further, the demand has been subdued due to the rains, but believes improvement in consumer affordability could lift the premium cement volumes. It targets 30 million tons capacity by 2030 and is focusing on organic growth.
We also had the management of KEI Industries, and they mentioned that the GST rate rationalization will boost the housing wire market as there will be higher savings. He also said that the higher cash availability is will further boost demand in the range of 5 to 10%. However, they do not see any impact on the cables and wires market, adding that the demand trends continue to remain strong in the second quarter and are likely to remain so going forward as well. The company has maintained its FY26 guidance of 18 to 20% revenue growth and 10 to 11% EBITDA margins.
And for the last segment of the show, we have Ria joining in with us to tell us which are the important events that you should be keeping an eye out on tomorrow. Ria.
Well, yes, let's take a look at the key events to watch out for tomorrow. First up, in terms of key economic data, from Europe, we have the ECB interest rate decision coming out, followed by the press conference. In the US, watch out for the core CPI print, as well as the data for initial jobless claims and the OPEC monthly report as well. Back home in India, Infosys holds a board meeting to consider buyback of equity shares. Apart from this, Edelweiss Financial Services as well as Ircon International will be trading ex-dividend. dividend tomorrow. 3 other events to watch out for. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will visit Uttar Pradesh and Uttarakhand tomorrow. The Finance Ministry is also going to convene a crucial meeting with the heads of major financial institutions, including large public and private sector banks tomorrow. And the last thing that we're watching out for, Nirmala Sitharaman has a keynote address at the GCC Business Summit at Visakhapatnam.
Ria, thank you for that update. With that, we call time on this edition of Markets Forward. From Vinny and me, thank you for watching. More news and updates continue on the other side.